you now.
He does.
Good evening, everyone. Let me welcome you to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, December the 17th, 2019. Madam Clerk, all the commissioners here are here this evening along with the county attorney and the deputy county manager. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would at this time, take your mobile devices, your telephones, anything that you brought with you, and make sure they're on silent right now or on buzz, whichever you want, way you want to do it, so they won't interrupt the meeting itself. For those of you that are speaking tonight, make sure that you activate the microphones before you are speaking up front up here. I want to take a point of personal privilege and welcome Scott Carpenter, our deputy county manager, who is seated to my right tonight, sitting in the place of Brian Steen. As most of you may or may not know, County Manager Brian Steen's mother passed away this week. She I'm going to do that early, Kay. She fell. Her and her boyfriend had gone to a church in Yadkin County to a church service, Christmas service. And as she left the church, she fell down the steps and suffered massive brain injury from that fall and passed away. Brian will be going to South Carolina tomorrow for the final interment of his brother. So if you would, he and his sister Robin and his uncle is all that's left in the Steen family. So if you would, I would appreciate when you're in a quiet place somewhere with your thoughts and you have a moment to whomever it is that you pray to, that you remember Brian and his family. Brian loves Burke County. We accuse him sometimes of being married to the county because all he's got is his home and his 4 dogs. Brian's never been married, so his family's kind of sparse. So his county family is all he's got, and we love him, and we love what he's done for this county. And Scott, we appreciate you being here for him tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Went a little bit longer than what I'd planned, but it was well worth it. Tonight we have with us to do the invocation Pastor Ed Stevenson, who is from Arnie's Fairview UMC, who's been with us a number of times. And then we will have the Eckerd Elementary School students here with us tonight. I want to take a minute to identify those persons that are with us tonight, and if I murder your name, I just murdered it. That's the best I can do. We've got Janine Burris, who is the principal, Cammie Irvin, who is counselor, Miranda Duncan from the 3rd grade, and Melanie Rambaran, Jennifer Berry, both of them in pre-K, and our students are Bella Davis from the 4th grade, Bailey Winkler from the 4th grade, Luke Duncan from the 3rd grade, Clark Justice from the 2nd grade, Isabel Rambaran from the 5th grade, Porter Justice from kindergarten, and Logan Berry from the 1st grade. We are so proud to have you here with us right here in the Christmas season. So when Pastor Stevenson finishes his prayer, we'll ask that the students come forward to do our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would stand with me. If you'll pass that red button, there we go.
That one. I see by the clock that we're getting a very early start, so
Yes,
I'll
sir,
take
we
my
are.
time and we will pray until 6.
Okay.
Join me in prayer. Lord, at this very special time of the year, we take great joy in recognizing why we celebrate this season. Father, we haven't vocabulary to express to you the gratitude that we have that the gift of this child affords us eternal life in your presence. Father, we thank you also for the freedoms that are afforded us to attend the meetings of our governing bodies. Those freedoms, Lord, are afforded to us by some of the men who are here gathered tonight. We thank them for their service as we remember those who sacrificed all so that we could be free to come and enjoy this. Lord, I thank you especially for the children who learned the Pledge of Allegiance to this flag and to the parents who teach them, and to the teachers who teach them, unashamedly and unafraid. Father, this council will go through meetings tonight. Help us to remember, Lord, that our opinions do not necessarily constitute the truth for everybody else. A difficult lesson, but one that is true. Lord, I thank you for these men who have spent so much time in the caring and the machinations and the polity of this county. We are very, very fortunate to have such men and to live in this precious, precious county, this beautiful part of God's creation that you've afforded us. But now, Lord, I just pray, I plead that during this season of Advent, during this season of Christmas, this season of the birth of our Savior, that we all learn who is really in charge of us and our country and our lives. We have nothing to fear, Lord, if we trust in you. But now I just ask, Lord, that you continue to have your will in each one of our lives. Keep us surrendered to you and not to ourselves. We make our pleas and we offer our prayers in the most precious name we know, that of your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, guys, if y'all will remain down there, we'd like to come down and take a picture with you, if that'd be okay. All right, parents, I encourage you to come on up in the middle aisles and bring your cameras and take pictures, okay? There you go. All right, let's see if I can get All right, our first order of business tonight is approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, I think you've had this agenda for a while. So I have a motion by Wayne. All in favor of Wayne's motion signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so much. Now we'll move into the organization of the board for the coming year. The first item of business will be the election of the chairman for 2020. At this time, I will open the floor for nominations for chair.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Commissioner Johnny Carswell to be chair.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Wayne Avery for chairman.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will close the floor for nominations. And at this time, we will take the votes in order of the nominations themselves. Those wanting to vote for Johnny Carswell, please signify by raising the right hand. Madam Clerk, that will be 3. Those for Commissioner Wayne Abley, raise your right hands. That will be 2. So, Madam Clerk, that looks like I got 3 and Commissioner Abley got 2. So at this time, we need a motion from motion to elect.
I motion to elect Commissioner Johnny Carswell as chairman of the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2020.
All right, all in favor signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 4-1. This time, we'll open the floor for nominations for vice chairman for 2020.
Chairman, I nominate Maynard Taylor for the position of vice chairman.
We have Maynard Taylor. Are there any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Commissioner Scott Mulvey as vice chair.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the floor for nominations and take them in order that they were nominated. Those in favor of Commissioner Taylor signify by raising your right hands. Madam Clerk, that would be 2. And those for Scott Mulvey signify by raising the right hand. Madam Clerk, that will be 3. And I will make the motion to elect Scott Mulvey as vice chair of the Board of Commissioners. Those in favor signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 3-2. This time we'll move to the appointment of the county attorney for 2020. At this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate J.R. Simpson.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Reddy Deal.
Are there any other nominations for county attorney? Hearing none, I'll close the floor for nominations and take those nominations as they were offered. Those in favor of J.R. Simpson signify by raising of the right hand. Madam Clerk, that is 3. For Redmond Deal, also raising of the right hand. That will be 2. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint J.R. Simpson as the county attorney for the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2020.
All right, you've heard the vice chair's motion. All in favor signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 3-2. At this time, we will move towards the appointment of the tax attorney for 2020. At this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for tax attorney.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Kanye Law Firm as county tax attorney.
Are there any other nominations for tax attorney? Hearing none, I will close the floor for nominations for tax attorney and entertain a motion to appoint Kanye Law Firm as our tax attorney.
Mr. Chairman, I move we appoint Kanye as the county tax attorney for the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2020. The only compensation for the county tax attorney will be those authorized by the general statutes in relation to a foreclosure action. The county tax attorney will provide the board a quarterly report of accounts turned over to him or her and the disposition of said cases at the end of each quarter.
Gentlemen, you've heard Commissioner Britton's motion. All in favor signify by raising the right hand. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Moving on to our next item is my favorite one, appointment to the clerk to the board for 2020. I will open the floor for nominations for clerk to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we nominate Madam Kay Drone for clerk.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will close the floor for nominations for clerk to the board and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Ms. Kay Drawn as the clerk to the board of the Burke County Board of Commissioners for 2020.
All right, you've heard the motion by the vice chair. All in favor of Ms. Kay Drone being appointed as clerk to the board for Burke County for 2020, signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so very much. All right, well, moving on into our presentations for tonight. Our first presentation will be from the Burke County Animal Services Center and presented by Caitlin Settlemeyer, the director. This will be our pet of the month. And who do we have, Miss Caitlin?
So today we have Miss Layla as our dog of the month. We did feel like we were leaving our cats out a little bit because, of course, cats get really stressed out if we were to bring them up here. So we did shoot a short video at the Animal Services Center to highlight one of our long-term resident cats that is looking for adoption. I guess we can play that now. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lindsay. I'm with Burke County Animal Services. This is one of our awesome adoptable cats named Junior. Junior is a sweet young male orange tabby. The best part about Junior is that adorable little crooked tail. He carries it above him, and he's super and cute. Come down and meet Junior and some of our other adorable cats today.
So that was Mr. Junior. Junior had been with us for has been with us a very long time, and he's looking for a forever home or a foster family over the holidays. So back to Miss Layla. Layla is a 4-year-old mixed breed dog. She's kind of your perfect dog. She gets along well with everybody and everything. So she is looking for a forever home. She's current on all of her vaccinations. She is heartworm positive. We do have someone willing to pay for her treatment, but we just need someone to adopt her. We are looking for fosters over the holidays if you aren't in the time of your life to fully commit to an animal, but maybe you want to help one out for about a week. We would love to get some of our animals out of the Animal Services Center to enjoy that weekend or that week with a family. So if you are interested, please call us to come down and visit. Layla will be down there. She'll probably be on display in the front office. So if anybody wants to come down and meet her, you are more than welcome to.
Any questions or comments for Caitlin?
Make somebody a beautiful Christmas present.
Good.
All right, if there's anybody in our audience that wants Layla, just step to the back and Caitlin will talk to you.
We'll make that trade-off.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin, so very much, and Merry Christmas, Layla. We recognize the clerk at this time.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would just like to call your attention to the passing of Miss Alice Kopacki.
Anything else you'd like to say about Alice? When you gather yourself.
She was a wonderful advocate.
Alice Kopacki worked hard. Alice Kopacki cared. Alice and I got in an argument or two every once in a while. But Alice was one of the finest ladies Burke County's ever had. She cared about animals. And she made sure that I understood that she cared about animals, which made me look a little differently about what I was looking at a few years ago. We'll miss Alice. Alice suffered from cancer, and it finally got her. So it's one of those things that another person that has done a lot for this county as a volunteer is gone, and we will miss Alice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
Clerk.
Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, just one comment. Personally, I did not know her, Alice, until the animal control situation came up. And of course, years past, she would come and speak on the behalf of the animals in Burke County. And I just like to say that she had a spirit and a heart of care for animals that is hard to match. And, it's sad to see somebody that supports a cause that good pass, but, that's God's will. We have to pass on sometime, and we do wish her family the best, and we wish them well during this time of grieving. And we look forward in the future, we will meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Great words. Great words. All right, moving on to our next item on presentations will be an update from Partners Behavioral Health Management. as of September 30th of 2019, and that will be presented by Tara Conrad, Partners Behavioral Health Management. She's got a new position. I can't remember what it was.
Community Engagement Director. But thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thanks for allowing me to come and give you an update on our first quarter reporting. I'm wondering if I could go, do I have a clicker here? Could I go to the next slide? I'm going to skip around a little bit. So first of all, I want to discuss the number of individuals served for 12 months ending September 30th. And again, this is 12 months because most people are in treatment longer than 1 month. So the blue column represents children aged 3 to 21, and green represents adults over the age of 21. We have this broken out by disabilities. Under intellectual and developmental disabilities, we serve 95 children, 266 adults. Under the mental health category, we serve 1,402 children and 2,421 adults. And under substance use as a primary diagnosis, we serve 25 children and 925 adults. 65 children, I don't know what I said, sorry, I got a head cold. 65 children and 925 adults. Now, can I go back to the previous slide? The cost of serving these individuals over the 12-month period, this is again broken out in categories, but it's also broken out between Medicaid as a funding stream and non-Medicaid. That would include state dollars, federal dollars, etc. So under Medicaid, with intellectual and developmental disabilities, the cost of treatment was $18.4 million. And under non-Medicaid, it was $481,440. Under the category of mental health, Medicaid expenditures were $10.6 million. Non-Medicaid was $1.8 million. Under the category of substance use, $919,000 for Medicaid and $1.1 million in non-Medicaid funding.
Tara,
Yes.
excuse me, where would the non-Medicaid funds primarily come from?
A lot of those are state dollars we get from North Carolina, and some of them are specific federal grants that we receive to treat specific diagnoses like opioids or something of that nature. So that would be your non-Medicaid category. Okay, if I could go to slide
Karen.
there. Yes.
Another thing I think is important, they need to know, part of that non-Medicare estate is what counties give to mental health. And each county that's part of the mental health partners does give yearly in their budget.
We do. You are correct. And we're getting ready to go into the county maintenance of effort funding. You are correct. Thank you for pointing that out. So with
We said that I thought it's important that they know you're spending it correctly.
Yes, thank you. So the categories, when we look at county dollars, the categories in which Burke County selected to fund services and treatment are in the following. One was the director and SOAR position for your Burke Integrated Health Center. Now, SOAR stands for SSI and SSDI, Outreach, Access, and Recovery. This is a service that focuses in on individuals that are at risk of being homeless, those with serious mental illness, some major medical impairment, or some co-occurring mental illness and substance use disorders. That individual helps connect members to needed benefits so they can access treatment services that may not otherwise be available to them. So within the first quarter, now these are first quarter reportings and not 12 months, we had 77 applicants assisted, 16 were connected with benefits to get them the needed services, and all of them were navigated to the correct service or needed service that they may have or need. Another category that Burke County deemed as important was services within the jail. Our provider for that is Catawba Valley Behavioral Health Care, and within the first quarter alone, they served 129 inmates. They received either assessments or actual therapy treatment within the jail center. Psychiatric support is another category of need for this county. CVBH, Catawba Valley Behavioral Health Care, is our provider for that particular service, and they serve 506 patients with psychiatric support during the first quarter. The Moores program is something new for this area, and that is a program that works to address the needs of an entire family. It's typically a child that's identified as having a need. There may be a crisis situation. That particular service is a team approach, and a licensed clinician will go in and stabilize that child, those behaviors, or whatever is needed, and work with the family to address not only their social determinants of health, but also any clinical services that may be needed. Again, the goal is to keep the family intact and as a family unit. And thus far in the first quarter, we served 2 families under that service category. Embedded therapist at DSS, a caring alternative, was our provider for that service. We are engaging in communications with another provider to continue that service. But during the first quarter, our previous provider was able to serve 30 families. Psychiatric services at your Blue Ridge Healthcare Center. Currently, that is in process. And what I mean by in process is typically the hospital will exhaust the Medicaid and the state funding that Partners puts in their contract to treat individuals with psychiatric needs. And once those funds are expended, then we tap into the county dollars to cover the cost of treatment for individuals. That usually happens around third quarter. So you should see some numbers around that time. Housing, that is services and support for individuals with either a mental illness or co-occurring diagnoses, and we have served 2 individuals with housing support during first quarter. Consumer reserves, those are funds set aside to cover something that may not typically be covered by another funding stream due to the individual not having another funding stream, or the need to access something quickly, then we tap into county dollars to cover that. One may be an in-depth evaluation or something of that nature. And during first quarter, we did not have any individuals with that specific type of need. Your system of care community collaboratives is another service provided in this community, and that is a group of both individuals as well as treatment service providers. They look at services and needs within the community, and they use county dollars to help meet that need. Some examples in the past have been specific trainings on preventing child sexual abuse, mental health first aid, or something of that nature. Thus far, this year, fiscal year, they have assisted with support for raising awareness for substance use stigma, treatment resources within the community, and the need. The psychiatric support and medication, we contract with Good Samaritan Clinic to provide that for individuals that may need some support or medication. In the first quarter alone, they served 96 patients and distributed 31 prescriptions with the use of county funds. And the last category is NAMI support groups. That's National Alliance of Mental Illness. That's a support group of family members that have experienced someone within their immediate or distant family with mental illness. And that is underway now, developing that support group and getting activities started. So with that, I will entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Tara. Gentlemen, you've heard a presentation by Tara. Do you have any comments or other information you may need?
Thank you.
All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion to accept the report as presented. All in favor signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you, Tara. All right, moving on to our next item will be from Tourism Development Authority, a financial update for the period ending September. Actually, it'll be a yearly financial, and that will be presented by Ed Phillips, TDA Executive Director. Ed? Yes, sir.
There we go. Red light's good. Well, good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about the first quarter of the TDA financials starting in July 1 through September 30th. And as of September 30th, we had $323,168 in the bank. That's a healthy fund balance for us. It's also some expendables in there and some that are committed. And as we go through these quarterly reports, you'll see how these numbers will change as we get further along into the year and how it compares to previous years. Page 2, you'll see Burke County government occupancy tax, the top line. And that shows exactly what we received in July. There's always a 2-month delay between the date the occupancy tax is collected by the hotel or the vacation rental. So then remitted to the county, and then the month after that, the Tourism Development Authority receives those funds. I will say this, even though this only shows July for this report, I can tell you that July, August, and September were almost exactly equal with last year. So we're happy to see that. We'll see what happens in the next few months, but those are pretty even numbers. And one other thing that I added to your report that you have also is our Burke County Strategic Plan for 2020. And if you turn to the last 2 pages of that, it also has a graph here that talks about spending growth in 2018 in Western North Carolina counties. And spending growth in last year, 2018, Burke County grew at 5.8%, which finished 6th out of 19 Western North Carolina counties. And we also finished first above our neighboring counties of Catawba, McDowell, and Caldwell. And so we're really happy to see that we can beat our neighbors anytime we get a chance. But tourism is a strong industry, it's growing, and we're in a good financial position. And I'll entertain any questions or.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard Ed's report. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, one quick question for Ed. Ed, with the new hotel, downtown hotel coming online, how do we anticipate the occupancy, that's going to affect the occupancy tax receipts?
So if you put it to you this way, we have a pie. We have a pie of tourism visitor spending here. And so when you add another hotel, you have to say, well, is that pie going to get bigger, or are we just going to cut it into more slices? And in discussions I've had with a lot of folks, probably in the short term, it'll be the same size pie that's cut into more slices, so it may not grow at a tremendous rate. However, a new hotel brings new business that people just want to come to see the new property. It is downtown, offers a lot of amenities. So I think over the first year or so, you'll see that growth. We also have an initiative where we're trying to bring in conferences and meetings here, and we're going to announce some successful people that are coming and groups that are coming here in the next 6 to 9 months, including a national conference that'll be here to deal with trails. So we do have those coming up, and we see that growth coming that'll increase our occupancy tax. The other thing with new hotels is with sports groups that are coming here to play girls softball, baseball in the spring and summer, we know that we've been losing some of those rooms to the Hickory market, and with more hotel rooms, they'll stay here. So that'll be growth that we'll see, and that will make our pie grow larger.
Isn't it true we've also probably lost a little business, some new hotels that have come online in Lenore and McDowell County?
Yeah, so the Hampton Inn, there's a Hampton Inn that is opened in Lenore, and then I believe today maybe, or in the next couple of days, there'll be a Holiday Inn Express that'll open in Marion. So on the interstate. I don't see that as a huge competition for us. The Hampton Inn in Lenore is more of a competition, and I know our Hampton has lost a little bit of business, like from Google, but I think we still have a strong product, and we're going to be out marketing that as hard as we can.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ed, I noticed in your presentation, the written part, all of the magazines, national magazines that you got us in, and I feel like that's worth mentioning. But my main thing is I just wanted to say to you that what is the projections, or ask you, what's the projection for next year to this year? How much can we expect tourism to grow for Burke County this year, and the impact that that growth might have on the county?
Right, so I think our projections are 3 to 5% growth. That's a very conservative measure for the next fiscal year, or the current fiscal year that we're in. We've beaten that projection in the past, but I think right now for us, and with, like Scott mentioned, the competition from other markets around us, 3 to 5% growth is reasonable. If we surpass that, I'll be surprised. We've had some really good years, but that's my projection. And that would mean an occupancy tax, that would mean maybe maybe another $40,000 in gross occupancy tax collection, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, at this time I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to accept the report as presented.
All right, you've heard the manager's motion. All in favor signify by raising the right hands. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. You guys have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Sir.
All right, we'll now move to our scheduled public hearings. Our first public hearing is from Community Development. It will be zoning map amendment 209, excuse me, 2019-09, and public hearing be presented by Scott Carpenter, Deputy County Manager and Planning Director. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Alan Wisnett, who is here tonight, is requesting to rezone a 2-acre portion of one parcel of land that totals 5.74 acres. The request is to rezone that portion of property from its current split zoning of residential 1 R1 to residential 2 to the general business conditional district. The 911 address of the parcel is 2635 Moose Lodge Street, Morganton, North Carolina. The parcel has one residential dwelling on the property in which the applicant and his family reside. The applicant has recently been permitted to operate 2 home occupations within the dwelling. The home occupations are for a painting studio where painting classes are held and a taxidermy business. Taxidermy is considered an art form, a form of art by the by the North American Industry Classification System. The applicant recently received approval from the Burke County Board of Adjustment to construct a 3,600 square foot residential accessory structure on the property. And at the time of the approval, the Board of Adjustment placed a condition on the approval that the building could not be used for residential purposes. And because that was added, that is what required Mr. Wisnett to have to come and apply for the change of zoning. The parcel is not located within any special flood hazard area. The parcel is accessed on the corner of Summers Road and Moose Lodge Street. Both of these roads are public and they're state maintained. As far as land uses in the surrounding area, there's a mixture of residential, commercial, and industrial uses. The parcels that adjoin the subject property are all zoned residential, and they all have dwellings on them. There is a public cemetery to the north on Summers Road, which is across the street, and it's at the end of Moose Lodge Street. Across the street from the subject property is a driveway that does provide access to an industrial zone property, but you cannot see the industry itself from there. There are also several other industrial buildings in the nearby vicinity. The majority of development in this area is residential single-family detached dwellings. The farmland acre subdivision adjoins the subject parcel to the east. The zoning to the north of this request is R1 and R2. To the south is R2 and general business. To the east is R1 and R2, and to the west is R2, industrial, as well as general business. As far as conformity with the comprehensive plan goes, the current land use plan for Burke County is the 2016-2030 Blueprint Burke Strategic Land Use Plan. Within that plan, this area of the county is designated as the secondary growth area. This area has many of the attributes of the primary growth area, with infrastructure, utilities, transportation corridors, as well as a variety of mixed uses. We believe that this zoning request is in conformity with the comprehensive plan. As far as the conformity with the Burke County zoning ordinance goes, there's a lot of types of uses that can be approved as home occupations, and the requesting applicants already had 2 of those uses approved. And like I said, the reason for this rezoning is because there was a condition put on the Board of Adjustment that the new residential building itself, where they wanted to expand to, would not be allowed because there was a restriction that it be used only for residential. As far as the proposed zoning district goes, the proposed zoning district is the general business parallel conditional district. The parallel conditional zoning district rezoning process allows particular uses to be established, but only in accordance with a specific development project. So the Board of Adjustment, they did deny the applicant's request to lift the condition that the accessory structure only be used for residential or personal use. Rezoning to a non-residential district would essentially lift the condition because the land would then allow for non-residential uses. The proposed zoning district is a conditional district. The board can therefore require certain specific conditions which would be reasonable for the specific development project. Those conditions can be screening, the hours of operation, delivery hours, lighting, access, signage, trash, waste, and other things. The applicant has provided a very detailed description of the business uses and request. He's also here tonight after my presentation if you have specific questions for him. For the Planning Board recommendation, the Planning Board met on October 24th, 2019 to hear this rezoning request. There were a number of citizens present at that meeting. 7 citizens requested to speak. Not all speakers were from the immediate area. Some citizens had used Mr. Wisnit's meat processing for a number of years at his previous location. All 7 of the citizens stated that they were in favor of the proposed rezoning request. No one present at that meeting spoke against the proposed rezoning or use of the proposed property. The Planning Board had some concern about the disposal of the waste products and had discussion accordingly. According to Mr. Wisnit, he would bag up the waste products and dispose of the waste every day so that it would not be on site. The board again asked if he would drive to the landfill every day, and he said that he would. So the Planning Board voted unanimously to approve the rezoning with the addition of the following self-imposed conditions. Number 1 is that the work environment must be enclosed. No work is to take place outside of the building. Number 2, wild game only. Wisnit's deer would only process deer and bear, and that would be during statewide deer season only. It would limit hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., or if you so choose, from dusk to dawn. The lighting will be dusk to dawn, LED security lighting. No flashing lights or neon signs will be allowed. Number 5, no dumpsters or trash cans will be allowed outside. No waste will be kept on the property. Waste will be taken to the landfill at the end of every day. And number 6, the building will maintain a residential look with a natural buffer. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, gentlemen, pardon me, gentlemen, you've heard Scott's presentation. Questions or comments for Scott at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I do have 1 or 2, if you don't mind. One of the things that you just stated kind of gives a little bit of a question, and that is number 5 at page 45 that you just completed. Says no dumpsters or trash cans outside, no waste will be kept. And I understand that the conditions of this business may operate to 8 or 9 o'clock at night, which at that time, the landfill is not open. And I am assuming that what we want to say with that sentence is that obviously there's going to be waste there during the processing of it. So he's going to have 8 or 9 hours of waste. And I just wondered if we need to change that word, Scott. No waste will be stored on the property. Might work and have a little better understanding, and that the waste will be removed daily. And what that means is that he takes waste that he got on Tuesday and he takes it Wednesday morning to the, and that's just some suggestions for clarity and nothing else. And I did want to comment, and I think I did this during pre-agenda also, that I did receive numerous calls, several letters, some of them with multiple signatures on them, and I did not receive one either that was, did not want to rezone this for this gentleman. So I think it stands well that people understand the need for that service, and that they have to go a long way. If you don't have a service here in Morganton, they're going to end up and give business to businesses outside of Burke County, which is not a good economic factor for Burke County. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up on Maynard's point, I agree with him. I've deer hunted all my life, and there for a long time I had to take have it processed up in Marion, and I always dreaded having to drive to Marion. And just point of clarity too, being a deer hunter, I hunt down in Alabama and Texas and other places, and so we're not going to be processing those deer if it's after our specific deer season, because ours terminates at the end of January. I mean, at the end of December. And some of those other places that I hunt, you can hunt deer in all throughout January. So those, he would not be processing those at that time. It's just inside the North Carolina system.
Yes, sir. Inside the North Carolina system.
Okay. Just for point of clarity. Thank you.
Any other questions for Scott at this time? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, at this time I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to ZMA 2019-09? Hearing and seeing no one, Madam Clerk, I will close the public hearing. Mr. County Attorney, let me ask you one question. As we move forward and get a motion, should the self-imposed conditions be a part of the ordinance itself stated or not?
Well, it is going to be part of the restrictions, so it will be part of the zoning that's granted to him.
All right. All right, gentlemen, we've got the information before us. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt an ordinance number 2019-14, amending Burke County zoning map and related consistency statement, ZMA 2019-09. The proposed rezoning would be consistent with the 2016-2030 Burke County Strategic Land Use Plan and considered reasonable in the public interest because the proposed rezoning is consistent with the Burke County 2016-2030 Strategic Land Use Plan, as it recommends both residential and certain commercial uses within the secondary growth area. The rezoning would limit the non-residential development to taxidermy, paint studio to include painting lessons to the public, wild game butchering and processing limited to deer season. The proposed rezoning would require another level of site-specific requirements to help ensure a low impact with surrounding residences.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. If you don't mind, sir, in your comments, you quoted 209-14. Would I be okay if I change that to 209-15?
That'd be just fine.
Thank you, sir. All right, gentlemen, you've heard Commissioner Britton's motion. All in favor, signify.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick
Yes,
question.
sir. Okay.
Was your motion, Jeff, to include a change of 2 or 3 words there for clarity if they want to do it? Leave it up to the,
I have no problem with that, but I'm thinking, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking that last statement, where it talks about the site-specific requirements would cover that.
Yes, sir. Your motion was inclusive of these?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Whatever those site-specific requirements that the
Which is these.
place on there.
Okay, man? Okay,
just-
great.
I just don't want to pass a zoning ordinance that it's impossible to keep. You can't, you're going to have waste there during the processing time. And the way this reads, you're not. And that's the reason I thought the 2 word switches would clear that up.
I think we can switch those words without any problem.
And I'm probably thinking, Johnny, that he probably has a walk-in cooler where
Yeah.
he ages the deer meat, and the waste will go in there if you can't make it out, which is perfectly, every supermarket is doing the same thing, so I mean, you know.
I think every supermarket, maybe restaurants that sometimes do that, don't they? Sometimes you just have to put stuff that you can get to,
Yep.
down to the dump. Okay.
Yep.
All right, are we all clear on the motion again? All right, those in favor of Jeff's motion signify by raising the right hand. All opposed, Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so much. Scott?
Thank you, sir.
All right, moving on to our next item is informal public comments. Madam Clerk, did anybody sign up tonight?
No, sir, I have no cards.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we'll move forward with the consent agenda, and I'm going to ask Deputy County Manager Scott Carpenter to review these items. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the consent agenda this evening, we have 13 items. Item number 1 is a Board of Commissioner item, 2020 Commission appointments. Item number 2 is a Board of Commissioner item, proclamation declaring January 2020 as National Radon Action Month. Number 3 is an item from the clerk, which is a resolution establishing the Board of Commissioners 2020 meeting schedule. Item number 4 is an item from the clerk, which is appointments to Adult Care and Nursing Home CAC. Item number 5 is from the clerk, and it is to reappoint to the Board of Equalization and Review. Item number 6 is an item from the clerk, which is for Board of Health removal, appointment, and reappointment. Item number 7 is from the county attorney, which is a transfer of deeds for school property. Item number 8 is from the county manager. It is for BurkeCounty dissolution agreement. Item number 9 is from community development, which is to award contract for the Fauna Flora Trail, Linville Access Boardwalk. Item number 10 is from community development, which is to award a contract for Fauna Flora Trail, the Linville Riverside Path. Item number 11 is from finance, and it is for fiscal year 18-19 audit contract amendment. Item number 12 is from the tax department, which is a tax collection report for November 2019. Item number 13 is also from the tax department, which is to release refund report for November 2019.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the report from Scott. What's the pleasure of the board on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve all 13 consent agenda items as presented.
All right, you've heard Commissioner Taylor's motion. All in favor, signify by raising of the right hand. That will be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Scott. Very well done.
Thank you, sir.
Moving into our items for decision tonight, our first one will be approval of appropriation for a Veterans Memorial. I would invite Champ Ray, Mr. Champ Ray, and Mr. Gary Jennings, if you will, please, 2 of you come to the front seat, just in case I need some backup and support. I will ask my experts to please step up there for me. Gentlemen, I bring before you this evening some information that we've been receiving for a number of years. We've been approached by the Killed in Action Committee to provide some funding for a memorial on the grounds of the historic courthouse, which we all know is leased to the city of Morganton. In a letter dated July 17th of 2018, the Burke County Commission at that time, Jeff Britton, outlined 6 objectives to be achieved before the county would be involved in placing the Action Memorial on the grounds of the courthouse. Those being, number 1, that an official spokesperson for the project be determined and communicated to the county, whom the county may deal with exclusively, and that condition has been met. Number 2, that the selected monument design be submitted by the spokesperson for the board's prior approval, along with 3 written cost estimates good for 60 days, and that condition has also been met. That 50% of the funding for the monument be raised by private donations first before the project proceeds further. That condition has also been met. And that they be developed and present a plan for the future maintenance and repair of the monument if necessary, and that condition has been met. And that all concerned parties accept the current location of the courthouse may change sometime in the future, and the county would have no obligation to move any monuments, and that condition has been met also. As of December 2019, all of those conditions of the July 2018 letter have been met, to include the Killed in Action Committee reporting that they have raised over $23,800 toward the project. And additionally, as of December of 2019, naturally my computer went dead. So let me back up here if you don't mind. Mr. Vice Chair, you got finish reading for me for just a second, if you have it.
Okay. Additionally, as of December 2019, the Courthouse Square Steering Committee has. You got it? Steering.
Okay, additionally, as of December 2019, the Courthouse Square Committee has been informed that the Killed in Action Committee's chairman and treasurer have been informed that they have been granted permission to put that monument on the courthouse square. The board may wish to consider at this time, with all these conditions being met, the appropriation of the $15,000 toward the completion of that memorial itself. In effect, that would come out of our fund balance. Gentlemen, I'm open for questions, along with Champ and Gary, who are sitting in front of us, if anybody has any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I just got a couple comments. I got to say I'm impressed and proud with what y'all have accomplished in the last 18 months. Chairman Carswell just stated, we gave you a series of benchmarks. Y'all hit every one of them, and I've seen what you're planning on putting on the square. I've seen similar ones. My wife and I looked at one. Gary, we showed you that, some pictures of that. The one in Wilmington, this one's going to be somewhat similar, and it's absolutely a beautiful memorial. And like I said, I think y'all have done great work.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to indicate my appreciation for the dedication and consistency and the hard work that you have done. And I really wanted to kind of underline, if I may, I think the position that Morgan City has agreed to is really better than the one that we originally thought we would get. And I think in many aspects, it's a much better location for that memorial. And again, I say we honor this effort, and your work has honored all those who have gave their all for this country and for the freedom. And I think this is just a small amount of recognition and pay that it will take to get this memorial up, and where people can come and see it and visit it and read kinfolks' names and honor those that have passed on during fight or protecting our country. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank
Any other questions or comments? If I may, I was telling Champion Gary I had the great opportunity of being in Washington, D.C. a week before last, working for the state and the county on some projects up there, and we were able to drive by the Pentagon several times, and as I drove by, I just vividly in my mind remember 9/11 when the plane crashed into the Pentagon and we lost our own Lieutenant Commander Eric Cranford from Valdez. Eric's dad was one of my school teachers, Fred Cranford, who wrote the play from this day forward. Fred was also, his family, the Cranfords, and my Carswells were good friends. And I thought about that as we drove by the Pentagon, and I've been informed that his name definitely will be on there, and his wife, who still lives here in Burke County, will be on the front row when that memorial is dedicated. We all miss Eric, and he just happened to be sitting at the wrong place that day, and when that plane crashed into that building. So, if there are any other comments? All right, if not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr.
Chair, I
Chairman, I
move
make
to-
the motion to appropriate $15,000 from general fund balance to the Burke County Veterans Killed in Action Committee. And JR, do we need to add for use of a Memorial World?
Yes, and we also will need to have a short, simple grant agreement reflecting what the board votes on.
All right, so I add that to be used for a memorial of citizens who were killed in action in Burke County, that are Burke County's.
All right, gentlemen, you heard JR's comments about a simple grant document, correct? All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, all of those in favor of Commissioner Toler's motion signify by raising the right hand. Madam Clerk, that will be 5-0. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Do you want to say anything before you walk away?
I don't know how to say it, Commissioner. This memorial, the names of the gentlemen, and they are all men, there are no women on this memorial, goes back to World War I. Burke County lost 5 gentlemen in World War I, and going up to and including Lieutenant Commander Eric Cranford, who you mentioned, about 178 young men from this county. And their families, a lot of them, are still here in the county, and it's for the families of those young men, more than the men, to be honest, a place for them to come and pay homage, if you will. And your experience that you just had at Arlington National Cemetery, the place to honor those people is on sacred, hallowed ground. And that's why we were so adamant that we be allowed to put this monument on the courthouse square. We feel that that was the only place. And the Courthouse Square Committee and the City Council came together and granted us permission to do that. And now with your help of funding, we're going to be able to make it happen. And it's a tribute to those young men and their families. So again, thank you.
I'd like to add that, thank you very much, and we're getting her done.
Good comments, Champ. On behalf of, gentlemen, your service, Wayne and I, who are the veterans sitting on this board, we salute you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd suggest a round of applause. A lot of
Yes, sir.
left, but that's-
Thank you so very much.
We'll give you a round of applause also.
Moving on to our next item is adoption of the rules for 2020. It's been the board's practice to review and amend as needed and adopt its rules of procedure on an annual basis. The draft 2020 ROP is largely based on the 4th edition 2017 of the suggested rules of procedure for the Board of County Commissioners that are provided by the School of Government. Any questions or comments on the rules and the procedures? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion. Wayne's motion is to adopt those rules of procedure for 2020. All in favor signify by raising the right hand. Madam Clerk, that'll be 5-0. Thank you so very much. Now we'll move to our reports and comments. Moving to the right, I'll start with the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report on the activity since the last meeting of the commissioners on November 19th. We've completed all work on the child support enforcement contract with Veritas LLC. The contract has been executed, and Veritas has found office space to lease, and I'm told they're getting ready to execute that lease. Since the last meeting, we have advertised the Belanger property, the property that Joy Belanger asked to purchase from the county. We advertised it for upset bid. No bid was received within the 10-day period, and the sale became final. I prepared a deed. It was executed by the county and delivered to Mr. Belanger. I prepared a dissolution agreement for the Burke-Catawba Regional Jail Facility, negotiated a few terms with Catawba County's county attorney, and have the document that you approved tonight in the consent matters. Catawba County approved this dissolution agreement at their meeting last night, and their attorney has placed their signature copies in the mail today. I have worked with our animal services directors to develop a notice of suspension for volunteers and rescue organizations that sometimes can't obey the rules that are posted, to clearly reflect the charges and to pass legal muster. We haven't reached an agreement with the attorney for James Padgett as to the contents of the final order and injunction in our suit against Mr. Padgett for violation of county zoning and environmental ordinances. We prepared a deed for execution transferring to the Burke County Board of Education the 49.8 tract property that constitutes Liberty Middle School and the 28-acre property adjacent to Mull Elementary School. We also researched and are preparing for possible inclusion in January's agenda a request from the Burke County Board of Education that the county takes such action as to allow the Board of Education to transfer property to the Eichard Volunteer Fire Department for use as a fire station. Before the Board of Education can do that, the county must be offered the property and can either accept it or reject it. I completed the review and revision of the inmate food services agreement with Aramark Correctional Services regarding food service at the Burke County Jail. More on that in just a minute. I have completed the review and I am finishing the revision of the inmate medical services agreement with Institutional Medical Services PLLC for the provision of medical services to inmates at the new Burke County Jail. It should be completed and put to bed before Christmas. I have received the formal request from our finance director to respond to our auditor's request, and am working on having a final response to them by the end of this week. And I have been working with Scott Cook regarding the Alpine Mills dig grant and where the county and Alpine stand regarding this grant. Back to the inmate food services agreement.
Before you move to that, man, I want to make a statement or two. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask Gerald to finish up what I'm going to say. Late yesterday afternoon, actually almost 4:30 yesterday afternoon, up until this morning when I got an email, we received an email from Brian Neff at the Sheriff's Office regarding this contract with Aramark to provide food at the new jail. This is about whether we use a pre-packaged drink packet or a bulk package a bulk beverage service to the inmates. What I understand from Brian is that the jail currently uses a prepackaged drink packet, and when they asked for an RFP, they forgot to put in that RFP that they used a prepackaged drink packet. And Aramark made their bid on a bulk package. Therefore, Aramark's original bid would be $1.92.5 per meal. What they're telling Captain Huntley now is because of Mr. Neff's alleged mistake of not asking for that in the RFP, that the request would change the price of a meal from $1.925 to $1.98.3 per meal, which is 6 cents per meal difference. And Mr. Neff has notified us of that, and I just informed, well, we just talked about the email today, so I'm asking JR now to explain to us what this difference in, where are we in the contract negotiation with Aramark concerning the 1.925 per meal, and then the notification that they're now wanting 1.983 based on what they've learned about this drink problem.
Well, the contract is based on the RFP and their response to the RFP. And it's my understanding that Aramark is willing to keep the price per meal at 1.925 cents per meal if the county is fine with the bulk drink. Only if the county wants to go to individual packets that inmates take and mix with water that they have access to in their cell would the price go up by 6 cents. That is obviously something that can be negotiated. I wouldn't take the 6 cents as being set in stone, but if this is something that's important to the jail administrator, it's something that can be negotiated out. After all, the second low bid was $2.70 a meal. So the county does have the ability to do some reasonable negotiation there based on things that the county is asking for that weren't in the RFP.
Gentlemen, you have any questions about what we just talked about?
I don't have a question, Mr. Chairman, but I think our obvious choice is that we're such a close timetable to opening, we accept it as it is with containers and leave it open for, as JR said, negotiations and whatever. Just ride with it as it is and then make an adjustment if we have to. That'd be my suggestion.
Thank you, sir. All right, JR, I think our orders for you right now is to start some negotiations. I think the jail wants to stay away from the bulk, and since we are on such a close timetable, inmates are scheduled to be moving into the jail very soon, so let's see if we can get that negotiated back down to the contract price. Would be really, really nice if we could get it to there. And for the contract that they're getting, I just think they got a great contract from us, and I hope they will negotiate. Anybody else have a question or concern about that? All right. Anything else on your report, JR?
That's it, sir.
All right, Wayne?
Well, as we look back, and we've had a wonderful year in Burke County, and we're truly blessed to live in a place like Burke County. As the pastor said, and these veterans have said, there's I don't think another place. Now, I've lived a lot of places, guys. I've lived all over this United States, up north, Florida, whatever, and I'll tell you that this is a good place to live.
I won't disagree with that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of a halfway compliment, and not halfway, a good compliment, but just other things. in reading the reports from everybody else, and it caught my eye on Burke County Library, and it has an announcement in it that they're joining the Cardinal Consortium in 2021, and it doesn't state that Valdez and Hildebrand will be part of it, but I'm assuming that that will happen. And the other thing, I read this time and time again, and I don't know, somebody needs to give somebody a big hug or something, but their promotional calendar is just first class. It's just as good as it gets, but I don't see much of that, and I'm hoping they do include Valdez and Hildebrand in part of that calendar, but each one of them, meaning Valdez and Hildebrand, would do well to pattern their calendar after what Morgan is doing, because it is really a nice setup, and I just commend the one who does the program calendar. And then on let's see, page 303 on your calendar, if I can get there, on your, and I noticed several of them had this in it, so it involves the fire departments, and it has a significant, I'm going to read a couple sentences, and I'm not going to name one of the fire departments because several of them have similar language to it. Deficiencies in combination of deficiencies, the internal control that is less severe than material weakness. The deficiency of that is it did not allow the normal course of performing the assigned function of audit, and this particular one stated that they had asked for things to improve 1 year previous. So I'm just saying that we ought to probably have a session on that. And in addition, you got the reports of the regular meetings that I attend. 2 of my committees did not meet in December, so you did not get that. But much of this, I'm going to say, a lot of us participated in. But in 11/21, we toured the new jail with department heads. In 12/03, Morgan and Christmas Parade, we participated in that. 12/12, Burke County ribbon cutting for the new jail. 12/07, attended the Hildebrand Christmas Parade. I did not participate, I attended. 12/14, we participated in the Weatherford College Christmas Parade. Western Piedmont has given me some stuff that was done by Taylor Dellinger that is really some good stuff. And the reason I'd love to pass this on to you is that if anybody asks you for a key club or something to make a speech, there's enough information in here to make 4 or 5 15-minute speeches. But it particularly one in here, it has how many people, and it's on page 9, go from county to county, how many workers we have coming into Burke, and so forth. And I just hope you will take time to look at that. It's a lot of important information that's readily available for you to use, and it's a lot of information to have that knowledge within yourself. And finally, I want to say to each and every one, and I wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I hope you get everything you wanted plus one more for Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Britton? No comments, other than I do wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you, sir. Vice Chair?
My reports are in there, and I just want to mention one thing. We were at a lot of these events that Commissioner Taylor was talking about, but I just want to reiterate the hard work that was done behind the scenes for the jail opening. I won't mention everybody, but Kay, Chairman Carswell. There's a lot of things that went into that that's been in process for quite a long time, and you know, I know Chairman Carswell won't toot his own horn about this, but he worked with the Oaks family for a long time to come up with an appropriate memorial for him, and it was done first class, and I just want to say great job, all of you. And also I want to say I want everybody to have a safe and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Deputy County Manager?
I don't have anything, sir. I do. Oh, I was at the Sallyport today, meeting and update by CBSA Architects. And essentially the Sallyport is under construction. Right now it's sort of on a short delay as they await the opening of the jail and the transfer of inmates from the courthouse facility to the new jail. So they're working on other items, but some of the bigger items that take place inside and connect to the holding facility here, they're not able to do. At this time, they do expect, though, that they should be completed around February 20th. The only other item of concern that they have came from the sheriff, and the sheriff is trying to work to make sure that we can continue to use the space as a jail and not just as a holding cell if they move the inmates out. Because once you move everything out, then you have to upgrade to the new standards. And so that was, in sum, my meeting today.
Thank you, sir. My reports are in your packet of the committees that we attended. I talked to Margaret Pierce earlier this afternoon. I just want to mention Margaret again and Will. They're in hospice here in Burke County, as all of y'all are aware. Will is very confused now, extremely confused, and his time is short. So Margaret says she does appreciate the prayers and the thoughts. I'm at a loss for words when I think about what Will and Margaret and her family have gone through, so please remember them. Gentlemen, I've set 3 different dates for us. On January the 10th, I have called a special meeting after we have discovered some of the information regarding our Tourism Development Authority. We need to meet and do some consideration. Kay will be sending you packets shortly of how we want to proceed with the Tourism Development Authority. So you will be getting those packets relatively soon, since this is January the 10th. Also on January the 15th, we have called a special meeting to have discussions regarding a project that is called the NEST. That's an economic development project at Lake James. So there's a need for information there to be dispersed amongst us. Scott will be in charge of that, and hopefully he will get us a good package out before we have that meeting. Also on January 30th, I've called a special meeting for all of us to go over the animal needs assessment. That one will be at 2 o'clock on January the 30th. So those are the special meetings. Please put those in your calendars, and please, if you can, make these 3 very special meetings. There's a lot of decisions that needs to be made about the future of Burke County regarding those 3 things. Madam Clerk, we'll move into the vacancy announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be involved in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Council on Aging, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ area, the Tourism Development Authority, the Voluntary Agriculture Board, the Burke County Board of Adjustment and Planning Board, Western Piedmont Regional Transit Authority Transportation Advisory Board, Partners Behavioral Health Management, the Burke Senior Center Advisory Council, and the Recreation Commission.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. My last comments are that I want to remind everyone in Burke County please have your pets spayed or neutered. And please pick up one piece of trash for me like I do every day. Let's keep Burke County as clean as we can. And gentlemen, if you would join me in thanking our county clerk as she does every Christmas. She makes this room look beautiful. Thank you, ma'am. We do have a need to go to closed session to discuss threat or pending litigation, to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to discuss economic development matters, and to discuss personnel matters authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraphs A, 3, 4, and 6. I will apprise the press that there will be no decisions made. This closed session will be only for the county commissioners. So the commissioners take a very quick break, and we will move to closed session after a motion to go in closed session.
So moved.
We have a motion to go in closed session. Let's take 5 minutes and then go in very quickly. Scott, did I leave that thing laying on the table?
Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Let me do one thing before we do that. We had a proper motion to come out of closed session, and no action was taken, and we have a proper motion to adjourn. All in favor? Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. Thank you.